This is the What If Podcast.
What's happening, Ryan?
Hi, Spencer. It's the What If Podcast.
What's going on?
How are you?
I was doing better before we started listening to J. Cole. Dude.
We can't actually play that on the podcast.
No,
one's gonna know
I
that
can
we
talk
were.
shit about J. Cole all I want.
Oh,
though.
you definitely
Yeah.
can. We just can't play it, so you won't know which specific J. Cole
Super
song.
not for your ears only.
Spencer's not happy with it. I'm medium unhappy with it. Lydia told us that she doesn't listen to music anymore. Speaking of which, we haven't introduced the third member of the room this evening.
Our room has members.
Our room has members.
Nice.
A very exclusive club. There was velvet ropes outside.
Yeah, that's very true. That's a very true
You made it.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Great. How are you?
I am doing fine.
You still
Doing
didn't
fine.
introduce her. We have Lydia Liza with
That's
us
me.
tonight.
That's my name.
Singer, writer, all around name having ass person.
Yeah. Third member of the room.
You didn't sound so
Remember?
confident when you said, "That's my name."
That might be me.
It almost sounded like you were about to tell Spencer, "You're lying about what my name is."
Yeah, that's it. Oh yeah. No, I was gonna try to say something funny, but then I was like, "This isn't the time yet."
It can
You know,
be.
Nice.
but I couldn't think of anything, so then I just.
I just like, since you're new to this, we pretty much say whatever we want whenever we want. So don't
Can
ever
I say
think.
the F word?
Yes, you can say the F word.
Frick!
Yeah, motherfucker.
Oh my
See,
god.
you don't have to be the
You can
first one to
cuss all
say
you
it now.
want.
That kid said it for you.
Yeah. Oh my god, I love him.
Yeah.
What are we talking about today?
Yeah, so today we're talking about karma, actually, and I think we've been a little bit delicate about how
we didn't agree on
phrase
what our actual question was.
the question.
That's how much prep we do.
Well, I think kind of what we sort of settled on was, what if karma determines the future, or like what if karma is real? Like there's a lot of. Well, I think you broke it down best, actually. What did you say when we were talking about this on the phone?
Oh, well, just there's the religious version of karma, and then there's the kind of like pop culture cause and effect
It's good
version
karma.
of yeah,
Right.
It's good karma.
Yeah,
hippie
exactly.
appropriation
Yeah.
version of karma
For sure.
Yeah,
I bought that homeless man a meal because it was good karma, and it was really good to put it on my Instagram, so everyone
exactly.
knew.
Exactly. So I think
I love that character from Lydia so much. Can we have you back for another episode where you refuse to speak in anything other than that character? Like you're just that person the whole time?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, cool.
She'll come in and out tonight.
perfect.
Great. Does she have a name just so we know how to talk to her?
Felicity Stevens.
Okay. All right. Thank you
Amazing.
for the guest appearance from Felicity.
Felicity Stevens.
Steven, sorry. Do you have to say the whole thing? It's like a
God,
Tribe Called
Jesus
Quest.
It's one name.
Christ.
Yeah, get it right. Yeah, so just I think we'll talk about both, but just sort of to distinguish between the bullshit 2016 version of karma and the like maybe actually rooted in something version of karma.
Right. I'm with that. Okay, Lydia, first, does karma mean anything to you? Do you think about it? Do you think about it in a pop culture version? Do you think about it at all in a religious version? Do you have any experience with it? Does it
It's a lot of
influence
questions,
your
dog.
life in any way?
I didn't hear any
let's
of
go
it.
one at a time here, bro.
It was supposed to be
Jesus.
like a parade of open-ended questions to let you say literally anything you want.
Just whatever.
about karma.
I really don't think about it that much. Just my main life motto is to be good to people. I don't
Right.
care whether or not that brings me good karma or anything.
Okay.
I just think you should be kind and gentle and good to people.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I don't really walk around going, what is something I can do today
Right.
that is good for
Right.
myself in general and,
And your Instagram account.
yeah,
your
and my
Instagram.
Instagram
Yeah.
and my followers. What do they want?
Well, and
yeah,
I
I
think
don't
it
do that.
does
That's good.
like it has sort of morphed into a weird like egotistical spin-off of
Yeah.
the original idea.
Well, I think it's
That like I'm going to do good things for others because it's going to have some direct immediate or like in the near future benefit for me. I'm going to gain something from this.
so like, not to bash religion across the board with one sentence, but like in a lot of ways, that is a crux of like if heaven didn't exist in the Christian religion, would people do the things that would get them to heaven? Like in a lot of ways, there is a dangled carrot in front of almost every religion in some capacity or another that's like, you have to do this so that this will happen. And I think karma, as far as we either understand it in like a pop culture or in like the actual religious sense, is maybe like the most direct version of that. Because I feel like with karma, it's like, no, something might happen today. You might do something today. If you cut somebody off in traffic today, you might get like hot coffee spilled on you tomorrow. Like I know that's like more the pop culture version of things, but
right. And I think that's the distinction between like the Christian version of heaven. You gotta wait until you die,
right?
And an entire lifetime of good deeds will be rewarded with an eternity. Oh goodness, an eternity of
Spencer's belching away the Rolling Rock.
Coffee and beer combined is really a great way to start your podcast.
Still can't believe you do it.
It's actually my favorite combination of beverages.
Woof.
I've done it every podcast, I think. But there's like, I think there's a difference in how you look at it based on the immediacy of the payoff. Like if I can do something good right now to get something good later today or tomorrow, that's a very different mindset than I need to do good things throughout the sum of my life to be rewarded at the end of that.
Yeah, it's definitely more
It's
immediate.
a totally different mindset.
For sure. It's more immediate in the way like, did you guys ever watch How I Met Your Mother?
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
Never mind. Then no, that it doesn't matter. That reference just won't fly now. Anyway, there's an episode where they make a bet and the winner of the bet gets to slap the other person 3 times, but it doesn't happen at once. They get to determine when it is. And like basically in that episode, one of the characters psychologically devolves because he's like, when are you gonna hit me? Like he's terrified because he knows his homie is gonna hit him at some point.
Oh my God.
And I feel like karma in a way is a little bit like that, like at least in the version again that you're talking about, which is like there's an immediacy, but there's also, because there's an immediacy, there's also an element of it that's sort of like an impending fear of if I do something wrong at any given moment, I might be punished, I guess, in a pretty immediate sense for doing that wrong thing.
So most people, I think, right now and in like popular culture look at it as sort of like a short-term kind of payoff, I guess you could say.
Right.
But I think in other cultures and other religions, it's looked at as a much longer term type of thing, and like over the span of a lifetime or multiple lifetimes. And I think it also ties into the idea of like even reincarnation and multiple lives and past lives, that sometimes you're put back into a situation to balance out something from a previous life even. And so it's something that could carry across multiple lifetimes and multiple generations.
Totally.
Sort of a universal like balancing.
Right. I kind of want to read right now just so that we have it. Like I kind of want to read the dictionary definition of it so that we have like that to work off of as we go forward, especially because it relates to what you're saying right now.
Yeah.
Cool.
So karma refers to the spiritual principle of cause and effect, where intent and actions of an individual, the cause, influence the future of that individual, effect. Good intent and good deeds contribute to good karma and future happiness, while bad intent and bad deed contribute to bad karma and future suffering. Karma is closely associated with the idea of rebirth in many schools of Asian religions. And in these schools, karma in the present affects one's future in the current life, as well as the nature and quality of future lives, also referred to as one's samsara.
Wow.
Yeah, thanks. Lydia wants to crawl under something after hearing.
Heck.
It's just perfect.
Yeah. Dog source.
Dogs.
Okay. So if you don't mind,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to get us off on an immediate tangent.
Sure.
Okay.
Fine.
Cool.
I mean, I guess.
Because I think this concept is a lot more interesting if you look at it on a macro, almost universal level.
Yeah.
Or at least for an individual, like across a multiple lifetimes level, not like I bought the person behind me coffee, so I'm gonna like get that promotion at work tomorrow kind of bullshit.
There are still elements of that I want to talk about. I mean, just as they relate to like how we think and feel about those things. But yes, I agree that I think this version of it is equally, if not more interesting to talk about the longevity.
And I think where this loses a lot of people, at least in Western American culture, is like we generally don't accept reincarnation
as a concept. Yeah.
Right. It's just not
I'm going to heaven.
Yeah. It's not a part of our
hell.
lives.
Oh, I am too. I was more just heck.
Go straight there.
You're going to heck.
Yeah.
And so we kind of, I think, are naturally inclined to just write that off as like, it's not real, it doesn't exist. But our version of what happens after you die is totally real and totally exists and is to be taken literally.
Yes.
So I came across this story of like a very well documented case of reincarnation with lots of actual facts and multiple sources. And yeah.
Of course you did.
This
Of course
is
you did.
Fun.
Because that's immediately where my mind goes to if we talk about karma. I'm going to find the weirdest shit possible.
Yeah.
So this was a study published in the Journal of Scientific Exploration, which sounds super lit.
Yeah, it does.
That's
super does.
where I want to work.
Yeah.
Back
just
in
thinking that thought.
1991. So it's a fairly old story.
Okay.
And it was written by Dr. Erlander Haraldsson from
I also wish that was my name.
Yeah. Wow.
from the University of Iceland.
Erlander.
Erlander.
Cool.
Yep.
Is it LAND?
It is ERLENDUR.
DUR.
Haraldsson with two S's because Iceland.
Because of Iceland. Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted it to be ANDR because I wanted to pronounce it like Erlander, like Highlander, but
Erlander.
I don't think.
Erlander Bloom.
Well, he may be immortal though, based on the story we're about to tell.
Well,
he may be a Highlander.
judging by his name.
Okay, so there are a bunch of Sri Lankan names in this story that I'm probably going to butcher. Just as a heads up,
You should just say
I'm gonna do my
sorry
best.
and not say the names. I'm sorry said to I'm sorry.
that
No.
feels a little disrespectful. I'm going to at least attempt to say their
do
names.
your very best. I was of course just joking. Carry on.
So
Yeah.
this is the story of a young girl named Delushki Nisanka.
Okay.
And she was born in Sri Lanka in the late 80s. Sorry, 1984.
Oh, okay. So like relatively close to when this was put out.
Yes.
Okay.
She was born in Sri Lanka in 84 and was the only child. And when she was about 2 years old, she started talking to her parents about a previous life she had had. So, I mean, most kids start talking around 2, right? No one in this room has
I
children.
did.
has
I
kids.
did.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's
That's
like
when I did.
that's about when you would first start talking. So as soon as she could talk, she was telling her parents about this previous life she had.
Sorry, really quickly. What is her? Does she have like a first name, or can we shorten her first name to something we can refer to? Just
So her first name is Dilukshi, Dilukshi.
I'd say you're. That sounds.
Dilukshi?
That sounds,
I don't know.
Deluxi. All right,
We'll go with that.
Deluxi.
Yeah.
So she's 2 years old, and she starts talking to her parents about how she died in her previous life. In pretty
I'm so
specific
scared.
pretty specific fashion. So she tells them that she drowned in a stream.
Whoa.
When she was, I think, 9.
Yo, 2-year-olds don't even have like a real understanding of death.
Right.
Oh, mucho. I didn't even think about that.
And that's,
I mean, do they?
you can barely speak.
Maybe when you're. I mean, I don't know. I've always had a firm belief that children know so much, and then it dilutes as you age in society.
Let me just get the
Yeah, go
basics
ahead,
out.
go
and then-
just
Go
get
ahead.
it done.
2 years old, she starts telling her parents about how she drowned in a stream. She refused to call her parents mother and father and would, on a daily basis, ask them to take her home to her mother. Her parents tried to get her to stop talking about this stuff, but she just wouldn't. Like every day she was saying, "You're not my mom. You're not my dad. Why am I here? Take me back to my parents."
You gotta turn the light out behind you. It's getting spooky.
No, don't. I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
guys,
Ghost
I'm
stories
peeing
by
my
candlelight and Himalayan salt lamp.
Yeah, candles and Himalayan salt lamps.
So
I'll turn this one off too.
Her parents were trying to get her to stop talking about this because that would be creepy as hell if your 2-year-old every day is telling you like, "You're not my mom. Take me back to my parents. I'm dead." So
or at least have been dead once.
Yeah. Oh my God.
they contacted a relative who lived or who knew someone in the city that this 2-year-old girl was saying she was from. Mm-hmm. So they contacted the girl's uncle, who got in contact with an abbot, a priest in this town that this girl was saying she was from, and asked the abbot to kind of like, do you know anything about this story that she's telling? Mm-hmm. Do you know anyone in the village who might, because it's a fairly a small town or village, like, can you ask around and see if there's like any of this that's verifiable, or if like anyone died around this time period or any of this stuff?
Yeah.
And while the priest is looking into this in the town, the parents make a list of all the things that the girl, that their daughter has told them that could potentially be verified.
Oh.
And it comes out to be...
It's a smart way to do it, though, like if you're going to vet it.
Yeah. And it comes out to be a list of 21 things.
Please tell me you have that list.
I do have that list.
Yeah, you do.
Right on the money.
And we'll get to that list in a second. Okay. The priest was unable to find any sort of match for a family or a girl that would align with what the parents told him.
Wait, sorry. Is this the abbot, the same person?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he wasn't able to like figure anything out. However, a journalist picked up the story and ran that story along with this list that the parents had given them in the Sri Lankan version of Weekend. So like sort of like a pop culture magazine.
Right. To be like, does anybody connect with this?
Right. To have just a wider reach than like
this.
whoever this priest happens to know in this small town.
Okay. Interesting. Again, a smart way to go about this if you're trying to vet it.
A man by the name of Dharmadsa Ranatunga. Mm-hmm. Dharmadsa Ranatunga. Mm-hmm. Doing my best. Reads the story and recognizes the girl as his daughter.
Shut up.
And he contacts, through the journalist who wrote the story, contacts the parents. Is this making sense so far?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm just upset.
I'm ready to hear how and why he was like.
So this list that was run in the magazine connected the dots between these two families. And the list included, the girl was able to, Delukshi was able to name the small town in which she used to live.
She can't be 2 this whole time. How old is she at this point? Do you have any idea?
At the time that she made these statements, she's 5.
Okay.
This was in
a study would have come out.
This was in 89.
7 years after she was born?
Yeah. She started talking about this stuff when she was 2, as soon as she could talk. By 5, her parents are like, this is weird.
Yeah.
We need to figure out what's going on.
For years.
It's been 3 years. This is all she'll talk about.
For 3 years, she's been adamant that we're not her parents.
Oh, that sucks.
So by age 5, she made this list. So she was able to name the town which she claims she used to live in, as well as a specific nickname for the neighborhood that she herself had come up with. She called their neighborhood Fruit Garden because there were a bunch of fruit trees that grew around their house.
I'm assuming this neighborhood is also in Sri Lanka, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
She said, my brother and I fell into the stream before I came here. Meaning like her life now. Yeah, I died and now I'm here. A stream with a footbridge over it skirts the paddy field near the house. So she's describing the specific stream and the specific part of the stream that she fell into and drowned. Our house is near Hinkola's boutique. So she's describing like specific stores that are near her home.
Wow.
We used to go there to buy groceries every week. I went to school by van. Father took me to school in the van. My father works at a metal quarry. My father is fair in complexion, as his mother. My younger brother, Male, is very dark, so she's naming specific siblings. Go ahead.
I forgot to breathe.
I guess I just
was forgetting to breathe.
I don't know. I'm like, it's in my nature. I'm not trying to be a dick, but it's like in my nature to try and poke holes in this. And it's like, where are the holes in this? This is fucking weird.
Yeah.
Well, and so these statements, it's kind of a summary of the list, or like the biggest points on the list.
Yeah.
They were documented by a dated letter from the parents to the abbot who they first tried to contact to ask around the village.
Yeah.
From the journalist who interviewed the parents, and from another letter from their family member, either to the abbot or back to them. I can't remember.
Okay.
So there were 3 different places where these statements were documented.
Whoa. Well,
Jesus.
Just back to the story for 1 second.
yeah. Go ahead.
They so the man who read the story in the magazine in Weekend got in contact with the parents of Deluxi, and they agreed to meet up. The 5-year-old girl, was able to give them directions to the house.
Oh my God.
So she was guiding them. Like a 5-year-old can't give you directions anywhere,
No.
even in their own neighborhood usually.
Yeah.
So
I
she was
still can't do that. I can't give anybody directions anyway.
We might
So
be close.
she guided them to the house where this family lived. And they lived in villages that were 80 miles away from each other.
Oh, that's pretty far.
And the two
That's further than
families,
I was
as far as they could determine, had no relatives. Had neither family had been to the other town before. No one knew anyone there. Had never worked there. Anything. There was no connection. And after identifying some objects and people in the house, the man and his wife, who had identified her from the article, and Deluxi's parents agreed to let them adopt her.
Whoa.
Because all 4 adults were convinced that was their kid.
That's insane.
So at 5 years old, she was actually adopted by the people she claimed were her parents.
like before she died?
Yeah.
Dude.
So she was returned to, quote unquote, her family.
But as a whole different thing. A whole different
as
person.
a different person 5 years later.
Oh my God.
And this man who wrote the article, Erlander Haraldson, tried to,
Highlander!
out of the statements that she made, he narrowed it down to 21 that could be verified, basically. Because some of them were things like the way she felt about things, or like things she liked to do, or kind of opinion-based stuff rather than facts.
Right.
So of the 21 items, he was able to confirm 17 of them. And the 4 that he could not confirm were all names that she called people. Which, maybe that's coincidence. Maybe it's a little kid has different names for people.
yeah.
You know, like she called her brother instead of a name.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Okay, I have like all the questions right now.
All right. That's sort of the skeleton of the story.
The crux.
Yeah.
Okay. Does it say how old the child was when she drowned?
9.
9.
Mhm.
Okay. So it was a 9-year-old girl who died. That's crazy. Is there, okay, just cause I have to, is there like any chance that a newspaper story gets written about a girl and a family like reads that newspaper story and then they just like inject all of these things into their daughter to like get famous?
Because you're traumatized by the fact that you just lost a kid. If they actually did lose a child.
Right.
Yes.
Well, actually,
then-
I was thinking about it from both angles. Either the family who actually birthed Deluxi is feeding that information to,
Oh, I see.
or
Well,
or they just see the list and they go, yeah, because that's the interesting part. It's like usually like, okay, so you know when somebody loses a wallet, they'll be like, hey, somebody lost a wallet, come to the desk at blah, 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 and tell us some shit about the wallet.
Yeah.
So that we can, whatever.
Identify that it's,
Right.
confirm that it's yours, yeah.
Right. Like
Okay.
printing a list of 21 things is basically being like, did anybody lose a black wallet with a library card, a Gap gift card, 2 MasterCards, a driver's license, and a coupon to a nail salon in this county? And then someone goes, I did lose a wallet with all those things.
But that doesn't explain
That she could
her
direct
side of it.
them
Right.
to the house.
So then
Yeah.
are we saying that part's just not true? Or
No, we're not. I'm just thinking out loud. I'm just like envisioning ways in which there's a hole in this. Because my brain has to do that because I'm like, this is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
part
not saying it's
definitely
impossible.
seems-
It's just crazy.
that seems possible to me. But then the fact that the 5-year-old girl would be able to take them to that specific location,
Right.
describe a bunch of different things about it, and then both sets of parents, like her parents agreed to give her up.
Right.
Because they were so convinced.
Right.
Or they were sick of her being creepy.
Yeah. I mean,
This kid tells me she's dead every night.
And honestly,
She can go.
And honestly, like there is a lot to be said for any human being who at the age of 2 that is communicating that they have died and they know that they have died
Yeah.
and that they like don't feel comfortable where they are.
You know what's hilarious is when I was 5, I would tell my parents that I actually was from a farm and that my husband had died in a hot air balloon accident. And like I stuck to that story for years. But I don't remember anything about it now. Except for what my parents have told me.
Wait, for real? That for real happened?
Yeah, that for real happened. My husband died in a hot air balloon crash in one of my lives, I guess.
Did we just inadvertently like bring the one
the
person
perfect guest.
that is our friend who has the only karmic experience any of us actually understand?
Yeah.
Wait, okay. We're totally going to deviate from this story. Wait, actually, okay. I have an idea. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk more about Lydia's past life she just revealed to us. And we'll get back to Deluxi and all of the intricacies around the world of karma when we come back on the What If podcast.
We want to hear from you. Send us a message. Email hi, that's hi, at whatifpodcast.com. Or leave us a voicemail at 612-246-4614.
We're back with the What If podcast, and we have a new first, which is we have had 4 guests. We have never gone from 3 to 4 guests.
Dude, this is so much more fun if I get to play sound effects and you can't hear them.
I'm gonna be
Brian had to give up his headphones to our secondary guest.
our new segment 2
You're not
guest.
secondary. You're our finest guest we've ever had. I'm
Thank
sorry
you.
I said that.
He didn't mean secondary in terms of rank. He meant secondary in terms of newly added for this
In terms
segment.
of timeline.
In terms of timeline, Josiah, hi.
Hi.
How
Thanks
are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks, man.
Good, yeah.
Thanks for having me here,
Yeah,
guys.
thanks for hopping on with us today.
Yeah.
Congrats on the Christmas tune, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you guys are killing it.
So we're talking about karma. What if karma determines the future? What if karma is real? And we just talked about for a good amount of time Deluxi, a young girl in Sri Lanka who may or may not. It seems like
Sounds like she probably was.
sounds like may have died and came back to a family 80 miles away. Which, okay, before we get to Lydia's story that we obviously need to hear, the one thing I was thinking about while we were on break is that like, what are the chances? I don't think there's anything related to karma that's like, yeah, there also is a chance that like immediately after you die, you're going to get reincarnated like 80 miles away from where you just died, right? Like, doesn't that seem kind of unlikely?
Statistically?
Actually, he's right.
Statistically-
I retract everything I
No,
just said.
I think you're
because
right. Statistically, yeah, because I've heard theories that karma has no timelines. You can get, transported to at the same time that you exist right now. Like, you could be me reincarnated. Or, you know what I mean?
Oh, that's
Or
right.
like, I could be, my
So
next life
time
could
just-
be in the medieval,
Time
So-
isn't a factor at all.
No, so statistically, that is nuts. If that's
Yeah.
what happened.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Word. I thought what you were about to say was that statistically, there's like millions of people dying every day. So in the grand scheme of the world, somebody's probably eventually going to get reincarnated in the same like 60-year time period or 7-year time period in this case, in a local situation. But I also like your version, which is that like if people also have infinite amounts of time and location, and also you could be reincarnated as a bug or some other shit, being reincarnated as a little girl who died as a little girl in
80 miles to the right.
80 miles to the right in the exact same timeline. Maybe that is really, really wicked, borderline impossible.
Yeah, but weird shit happens every day.
Great point. Lydia, what was your story?
Yeah,
okay,
so
well,
Lydia,
this is going to damage my credibility because I asked Josiah to remind me because I knew somebody died in a hot air balloon thing. But I guess what the story was when I was young, I would talk to my parents and I would say, me and my sister Ruby are from a farm and our dad died in a hot air balloon accident, right? That's what it was?
Yeah.
So we were always trying to get back home to this farm. And Ruby was right along with me in it. She believed it too.
Time out. For those that don't know, this is not an actual thing in your life. This is a story you have a father who is not dead and did not die in a hot air balloon accident.
Yeah.
But this is a story that you would tell.
This is a story I would tell for years.
Okay. And what age are we talking?
Yeah, what age
I was like 3, 4. It was like right after Ruby was born.
She's younger, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Tell the stories about when you were in the Northern.
Oh, yeah, those are freaky.
Those are the ones that are like mind-blowing.
Go on.
So when I was a little kid, what's the one specifically?
What's it, the white cat?
Oh my God, this one fucks me up. So
Let's hear it.
There was a woman.
All right.
So I grew up.
We got to turn the lamp back off.
Oh no.
Yeah, if it freaks Lydia out, we got to turn the lamp back off.
Because they're freaking me out more.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
let's go.
Okay, so I grew up in Lower Town, St. Paul, in a building called the Northern. It's an artist loft. And so when I was a little girl, probably 2 or 3, I once went up to this woman who was my neighbor on a different floor, and I said to her, "Where's your white dog?" And she was like, "What? What?" And I kept saying, "Where's your white dog? You used to have this white dog. Where did it go?" And then she pulled my mom aside and was like, "My white dog died 10 years ago." And I was way too young to know that, and they hadn't even lived there, and I wasn't born.
How old were you at the time?
Like 3 or 4, like around that age, right when I started telling my parents that my dad had died in a hot air balloon accident.
On the farm.
Yeah, but there were like other things that I would do. Like one time my mom brought me to eat at McDonald's, and there was a woman there that I was like, this woman needs to come sit with us, and she needs to like sit by me. And then I told her at like 4 years old, our skin is different colors, but our hearts are the same color. And I would do shit like that everywhere I went. I creeped my grandma out really bad. Even in like my grandma kept a journal while I was aging, and she writes about those things in the journal, like when they happened at the time. So yeah, I don't know.
Do you or your parents? Okay, so like let's go back to the white dog, white cat.
Yeah,
white cat, white dog. White dog story.
Yeah.
Do your parents like attribute that to anything at all? Like, was there ever like no,
my mom said it was
picture,
totally.
Or maybe like did your grandma have like a white dog?
No.
And
I had never seen a white dog. We had a golden retriever. That was the only experience with dogs I had up until then. My mom said it was like really fucking weird. Like
this shit ain't regular, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Said thank you.
I'm very polite.
So the question then is, have you been reincarnated as that lady's dog?
Ooh.
I sure am.
Where am I?
Or are you a ghost?
Are you currently a ghost dog?
Yeah, I've always wanted to know what I was and who I am.
Are you scared of yourself now?
Yeah. I always have been. I'm clammy. I'm nervous around myself.
Or is it pretty cool to be a ghost dog and like maybe way cooler than it is to be a human?
But I also, I like I was saying earlier, I have that belief that as children, we just know more and we're more connected. And I think we all like have this just like deep, I don't know, bond to each other. I feel like we lose it.
Get
like
it beaten out of you as you get older and spend more time in society.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So from tying it back to karma for a minute,
For sure.
what would be the purpose of reincarnation from a karmic standpoint?
I
To
mean,
do
either
better?
punishment or reward for
Okay.
the good or bad karma you did. You know,
In your previous life?
yeah. So like, I'm gonna come back as a dung beetle next time
Because
because I'm a
'Cause you're a shit person.
Yeah, I'm a garbage person. But if I was really good, I'd be like a feathery white eagle.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's beautiful.
okay. And so is that like an infinite process? Does that stop at any point? Do you reach the pinnacle when you become the magic golden eagle?
In Buddhist tradition, that's nirvana.
Okay.
Yeah.
So essentially, you are karmically reincarnated over and over and over again until you reach nirvana,
get it
which
all
is
right.
like the escape of the layers.
You think it's like a gradient system? Like you can't go back. Like you're like a human and do really well, but then you come back as a dog and you're like a really shit dog. But it, like your karma
You
doesn't
just
go
bite
backwards.
everybody.
You're just like really mean and
You
lazy.
pee on stuff just because you want to fucking I don't know. I mean, I don't think it. Are you asking like? Do you think it's like perpetually moving
Yeah, like-
upward?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you know, I mean, okay, so when we bring animals into this, like you can't. How do I explain this? Some animals eat their fucking offspring, and they're not worried about.
Yeah.
It seems like they're not too worried about how that's gonna affect their next life.
It does seem like
like,
it does seem
I
like
fucking hate my son. I'm just gonna eat him. Dorothy, I hate our son. I'm eating him.
I don't care if I'm a
eating him
python in my
tonight.
next life.
Yeah,
This guy's got to go right now.
Yeah.
I like that you clarified. I'm eating him tonight because otherwise
It's no.
he wouldn't be able to have spoke through the consumption of his own child. Dorothy, I'm eating him right now in this very moment. Dorothy,
I'm eating him.
I'm chewing Dorothy.
No shit. I mean,
But it does seem like a uniquely human idea.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Or maybe like we don't know what animals know, obviously.
Yeah.
And so maybe there's more to it than we understand, and we're just looking at it from our one
Yeah.
little perspective.
But I think it's interesting. I don't feel like animals have to go through that whole movement of finding your enlightenment and finding like, you know, that I feel like they're just there already. I
Well, yeah,
feel like
that's what I was gonna say. Is
Yeah.
like, because you and a lot of people, and myself included, believe just like the already like sanctity of animals.
Yeah.
And they're just like they can't do no wrong. Any wrong is because of like the nature around them.
Right.
yeah.
Well, and I think it brings up the question of like, where does your ego fit into all of it too?
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't, I mean, I think maybe that's the distinction. We don't usually think of animals as having an ego.
Yeah, they don't want to do something just to post on Instagram.
Right. And humans, I mean, we inherently all do have egos to varying degrees, but I think if karma really is to be taken literally as like a cause and effect, and whatever you put out comes back to you at some point, does that sort of break down the concept of the ego? I feel like your sense of yourself would change at some point.
Uh-huh.
Because you can't blame anyone else for anything that happens to you.
Oh,
Right? Everything is, and that's where I feel like the idea of karma is kind of a uniquely, it doesn't really function
very
without the
human
concept of an
experience.
ego. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because whatever I'm putting out comes back to me. That feels really centered around me and my concept of self. And like when you talk about animals, we don't usually ascribe that to animals.
Yeah.
Animals just kind of exist.
Yeah.
Right. And from a human perspective, they're just there, they're living, they're going through, they're surviving. Right. They're not worried about what someone else thinks of them or what's going to happen to them down the road or in their next life or in their previous life.
We don't look down on a hawk as like an evil person for consuming a mouse.
yeah.
No.
Right.
But I mean, so like in the Buddhist tradition, it's like to deny the self, right? So how does that fit in? Would that make it like a collective karma, like a whole?
I guess that's kind of what I'm asking. Yeah.
Yeah.
At some point, does that sense of individuality break down?
Well, the thing.
If you're never really doing anything to another person and no one's ever really doing anything to you, are we all like part of one system at some
And that's
point?
why we got Trump, because We fucked up like 40 years ago.
and I mean, I think that's a valid question too. Does
karma
the
is in
idea
the shitter, right?
Yeah.
right? Does the idea of karma extend to the planet as a whole, or to human beings as a whole, or to communities, or like how far does that reach? Is it just me? Is it all the people I interact with? You get the whole idea of like going back to reincarnation, like soulmates and soul groups, people that you've lived multiple lifetimes with.
Yeah.
We need to do that episode about like what if the planet is a living creature in
It's just gonna shake us
through
off.
the lens of exactly
Right.
what through the lens of exactly what you're saying right now though. Like is there a broader cultural repercussion for broader cultural actions?
Dude, I bet there is.
And if you look at
I really do.
if you go macro enough and look at the planet as a whole and kind of the idea of karma as like balancing, right? The cause and effect are like the penguins just having to bust their balls and all be fucking saints because human beings are fucking everything up. So
Wow, yeah.
Well, I mean,
is the
they
planet
carrying the burden for
itself have some sort of way of balancing out?
if you think about it in terms of how history has always repeated itself, and like everything, including like ice ages and warmer ages and droughts, always come in cycles. Like that would fit into that. If just like because we fucked up the penguins, and now they're doing a real good job. Like they don't sneak out at night or anything, and so like it's just gonna cycle back around to a healthier ecosystem or whatever,
Right.
Yeah.
Is,
like
is the
genocide.
planet actually doing itself a favor, balancing it out by being like, oh, humans are doing all these horrible things to the planet? Let's see if we can just maybe get rid of those
Get rid of
guys.
a bunch of them. Get rid of a
No,
bunch of them.
seriously, there was like a whole thing. There was a piece George Carlin did about that whole thing, like about just the Earth taking care of itself,
Right.
and just being like, "Wow, humans are fucking insufferable." And I'm just gonna freeze them all because they totally suck,
Right. I have had the thought before that like global warming is the Earth's way of like, how like when a human being has a fever, that's like literally your body is creating an internal temperature that is too warm for that disease to exist inside of it.
Yeah.
I like legitimately had that thought the other day. I was like, is this what's like
Fever Earth. That's like my new album name.
Fever Earth? Earth Fever?
Yeah, Earth Fever.
Fever Earth. No,
Whole program's
maybe we always
cocked,
made a
boys.
four-person super group called Earth Fever. See, I don't know. I'm talking over buttons because I don't know. Shit.
Headphones back.
Oh man.
But I had that thought. I was like, I wonder if Earth is developing a fever to be like, I'm gonna need this cancer to go away.
But wait a second.
Yeah.
So like that would because the ozone layer is depleting because of like 5 dudes, right? Like it's 5 assholes who are more interested in money than doing business.
But it's
right.
also me
so it's
who
their karma.
doesn't shut off my lights at night
Well, I
because
mean,
I'm
yeah.
afraid of the dark.
But we do things
Like,
locally, but like the major, like the main points, like
Yeah.
the main reasons why everything
Yeah.
is fucked up is because of like 5 dudes. So is their karma more like weighted than ours? Like is there?
Oh,
They're
That's an
going to be
interesting
like
question.
they're going to be the dung beetle of Groundhog Day in the next life. They're just they've got like the next 70 lives as a dung beetle.
well, so if we're talking about like cultural karma or like even
Societal
yeah. Do you think that we carry some karma with us that is just in our bloodline? Like in our families. Do
Like
you think,
in a more literal way.
yeah, like maybe. Well, I mean, it could be like that. Like you are a product of many decisions, But just like, am I kind of more karmically fucked if like
That's very
someone
Catholic.
murdered someone in my family
But
line? You know what I
can,
mean?
You can think about that in a pretty like tangible way too. Of like,
That's true.
If you carry the same name as somebody who did a bunch of horrible things, like your life is definitely going to be harder.
That's true.
for
That
sure.
is
And
true.
vice versa, if you carry the name of somebody who was a great person or even just had a bunch of wealth or something like that, like your life is going to be easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're not getting hired at Super America if your last name is Manson, like
Yeah,
they're
like
gonna be
Tim
like,
Dahmer.
nah, I'm good.
Right.
Tim
Yeah.
Dahmer's not doing too well.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
Or that
I'm sorry, Tim.
Yeah, sorry, Tim Dahmer.
the dude who tried to catch the foul ball at the Cubs game like 10 years ago, help me out.
I know what you're talking. I
That
don't
was
remember
Tim. That
his
was
name.
Tim Dahmer.
That was Tim Dahmer.
Bartman or something?
I can't remember his name.
Paul-
I know
Paul
who you're
Blart?
talking about.
Whatever the fuck that dude's name was.
Mall cop.
This story sucks. Never mind. Carry on.
One thing that I'm you're talking about ego, and I know we're talking about like cultural and societal, but I guess one thing that always has kind of stumped me about this is like, and I guess this kind of goes back to the whole animals maybe knowing or not knowing, or, you know, you could talk about like, I don't mean to make this comparison, but just like I'm thinking about like adults with disabilities who might not have like the cognitive ability to maybe understand something that we're talking about right now. And partially what I think about sometimes is like, how do you apply a concept, not only that like everyone doesn't understand equitably, but also in a way that like I have no knowledge or control over the previous versions of like, okay, so in the story we were talking about earlier, Deluxi had, interestingly enough, I mean, it's interesting because she's like one of the only people in history that were like, holy shit, she might like have some insight into her previous life. I guess outside of her and fucking Lydia, whose grandpa died, or whose father died in a hot air balloon accident, apparently at some point.
There are tons of anecdotal stories like that.
Sure.
I think what was unique about that one is it's actually really well documented.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally. I guess more what I'm saying though is like, it's for the most part, we do find it pretty rare that people have any insight into any semblance of a previous life. And if you do have semblance into one, I would imagine that the documented cases are one,
pretty rare,
maybe two in their rarity, but you're not going back to like, oh yeah, I remember 7 lifelines ago when I was a blah, blah, blah.
Or
so
it's
like,
some obviously made up bullshit where somebody's like, yeah, I was Cleopatra and King Tut and Jesus.
Yeah.
My favorite one was that guy. He was on the Scientology and he like killed someone or something, but he was told that he was Jesus's true father because he saw Mary washing in the lake and then masturbated, and then that's how
into the lake.
Into the lake.
That's kind of gross.
He was high, and so he like believed that, and he was like, "No, I was Jesus' dad for sure. Like
I'm Jesus' dad for sure. Yes.
I also got
defense.
I also got 300 fish pregnant. Got a bunch of fish kids.
I'm Jesus' dad and a whole school of fishes dad.
Oh God.
But I guess the question I'm sort of aiming at is like how do you apply a concept universally to a universal group of people that A, don't understand it universally, and B, don't have any way to like account for or like cater to previous versions of self, you know? Like, well, I don't know. Was I a serial killer in a previous life? Maybe. I don't know.
I think that's why in our culture, at least, like people don't really pay much attention to that idea.
It's the same thing as religion. Like the whole, like how do you spread a religion that you can't prove and not everyone's going to understand?
Yeah.
It's called faith, Josiah. Jesus Christ.
Well, you just answered Ryan's question, I guess.
That's real.
Was that Scarlet... What's her nuts? Shit, what was your character?
Felicity Stevens.
Scarlet. Wow.
God damn it.
You did
Scarlet,
that.
what's her nuts?
You did that really poorly, bro.
You got a new character now called Scarlet What's Her Nuts.
Yeah, there you go. That's Felicity's friend.
She does have to have a different voice, though.
Hi.
That's pretty good.
I'm Scarlet. I don't want to say my last name. I don't want to talk about it.
Her karma sucked in a previous life to earn the last name What's Her Nuts.
How do you spell that? Look, let's move past it. Right. I'd rather not.
I'm sorry. Why you?
I totally.
Right? Yeah, that was a good one, huh?
Oh my God.
God, you know, you'd think with all of the goddamn equipment in this room that
You
we're
could
looking
buy
at
a
right
pair
now,
of fucking headphones.
we could have a 4th pair of headphones.
You could start pulling your own weight around here and bring some headphones.
I'm bringing it. It's gonna be here next time we record. I didn't know we were gonna have a magical 4th extra guest.
You know, sometimes
I'm
it'd
probably
be like that.
Crashed my car for stealing his headphones.
Worth it.
Topical. Did you guys talk about how birthmarks or how you died in your last life?
That is bullshit. Because you want to know why?
Yes.
Go ahead and turn your
That would
microphone
be
down a little bit.
really
and
funny.
Scream into it.
That'd be really funny to tell everybody on the planet. I'll tell you guys after the mics are off.
Well, that's no fun.
Oh no, now you have to.
No, but it's
She would
pretty.
have died in
it's-
a really funny way.
I would have died. Okay, I
on.
literally have my birthmark is huge, and it's in my butt crack.
Yeah.
It's just right there. It's just it looks like poop, man.
Nice. Have you tried washing your butt? Yeah. Oh, okay.
It just looks like I don't know how to. I've never wiped.
You got shot in the butt.
It's my favorite thing about me.
and you bled out like walking across a desert or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I like
Maybe
how
like
quickly
you got impaled in a really exciting way.
That's true.
Maybe.
Falling off a
It
castle.
was just like someone's barbecue dinner.
Damn.
Hey, yeah.
I
Hey.
was
Wait, is
like
there also one on
a
the top
bob.
of your head?
Yeah, that's a good. Well, have you
That's
ever shaved
true.
your head?
I haven't shaved my head.
Then
Well,
we know what we're
I
doing
like
in the next
that.
45
Find
minutes.
out.
We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back after we've shaved Lydia's head. And we'll know whether or not she got roasted.
Roast. Oh man.
Do you guys actually think that's a real thing?
No.
The birthmark thing?
Yes.
No.
Some people don't have birthmarks, and what if
Right.
it's their first time? Like
Hey.
their first try.
Their first time around here. Sometimes I think it's my little sister's first time here. 'Cause
Yeah,
she's
me
so
and Lydia
dumb.
talked about this, but there's this one theory. I don't know if it's a real theory, but one of the guys said that when people are like really shitty, like unapologetically shitty, there's like one if it's their first time and they don't know yet. You know, they haven't come back as a butterfly yet. They don't know how shitty it is to be a
So
butterfly.
you start out as a human, though?
I guess so. In these cases, yeah. I mean,
I feel like it really sucks to start out your first time with complete fucking consciousness. That would suck.
Right. That seems like if that were the system of like sort of working your way up towards enlightenment or nirvana or whatever. Well, I don't know. Maybe we're the worst. Maybe you start as a human and work your way back to being a goat.
yeah, goats
my
are really
God.
nice.
Yeah.
Goats, well, they're kind of assholes, actually.
Yeah, but they're just having fun all the time.
nice
They're just
animal.
They'll
always
eat
having
all
fun.
your stuff and ram their heads into shit. They're kind of dicks.
Jump on each other.
I
definitely
think
jump on
they're
each other.
having the most fun. I think we could learn from them.
Goats?
Yeah. Just jump on your friends' heads.
Just jump
Stuff
on your
just-
friends' heads.
Ooh, maybe
Just
elephants
jump
are going
on
extinct because they're the last stage, and everyone sucks now, so no one's coming back as an elephant.
Oh yeah.
I like how quick, for the record, I like how quickly you went from, you guys, I'll tell you when the mics are off. All right, I got a butt crack thing. It's like,
Yeah,
like
but
6
about my butt,
seconds
though.
between the denial and
I mean,
easily
the
persuaded.
I realize how annoying it is when someone's like, "No, I'll just tell you later." No, I swear I'll tell you later. And then they're like, "No, I'm serious. I'll tell you later." And then you're like, "Fuck you. I don't even want to know
I don't
anymore."
wanna know.
Stop talking to me, Scarlett.
No, that's Felicity, dude. Shit. Come on.
Sorry.
Get Lydia's characters correct.
All white people look the same to me.
You're not wrong.
You're not
True.
wrong.
All right. I have one more question for you guys.
Yeah, let's
and
do
then I
it.
feel like maybe we should wrap up our conversation.
Let's do it. Actually, let's take one quick break and we'll come back on our final question.
Okay.
We'll take a breather and refill our brains and
And stop thinking about my butt crack.
and defill our bladders and that and also what Lydia said. And we'll be back in a second with the What If Podcast.
Boo! And now, back to the What If Podcast.
We're talking about karma today on the What If Podcast. I'm wondering.
Holy friggin' shit, buddy!
I got that one. I heard it.
Nice. That one's really loud.
It's
Sorry
nice and
about
loud,
that.
so I can hear it
listeners.
out of your guys' headphones. And yeah, we've covered a bunch, including Lydia's karmic past, some karmic
I
stories
guess.
from Spencer, or potentially karmic past. I guess we didn't dive too far into it.
No, that's okay. I'm
know-
fine.
You don't want to reveal any
I'll be
past
fine.
lives you're not entirely aware of right now.
Whatever.
No, you don't have past lives. You're a ghost dog, remember?
Yeah.
But we have one more question we want to ask before we tie things off today.
If karma is real in the like cause and effect, get what you give, reap what you sow way,
Yes.
would you have to forgive everyone for everything?
So forgiveness is good karma.
Well, that and or
What do you think?
Well, who sets the standards?
anything bad that anyone has ever done to you is really an effect of something you've done.
I think in terms of karma, you wouldn't have to forgive them because they're going to get it anyway. You know, karma's going to
But-
come back around to them.
Isn't that your karma coming back around to you? Anything negative that happens to you?
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
dying.
And in that, okay, wait, but in that setup though, then no one is responsible for their own actions.
Or
Because
everyone is
anything-
entirely responsible for their own actions. I don't know if there's really a distinction at that point, but if I go out and get robbed on my way to work tomorrow, it's because of something that I did in the past or I'm going to do in the future.
But what about if I go out and rob you tomorrow on your way to work? What does that say about me?
He's playing a nice, fun joke on you.
So karma's non-linear.
Not actually. I'm not saying like if Ryan were to rob Spencer tomorrow. Dude, I know you. I know who you are.
You can just have
You can-
I can
$20,
see
bro.
your eyes, man.
Do you need some money?
Bro.
You know where all my stuff is. Yeah, I guess it could be, well, and I guess that gets into the question of on what level is this operating? Is it on an individual level? Is it my personal karma? Is it us as a culture? Is it human beings as a species? Is it
Right.
the planet as a whole? What level are things really balancing out on?
Did you guys talk about like what sets the standards for morality in terms of karma?
No.
Like, because I think
Bring
that'd be
it
pretty
to us.
important.
I think I think you're right, and we didn't entirely. The only thing we kind of covered was like a base level definition in which it's like good deeds and good intent versus bad deeds and malintent.
So if it's intent based, then it would have to be personal.
I would agree with that as well, because you're talking about what is your individual intention as a person in the behavior that you're taking
Yeah.
on. So to me, and that goes back to your point of like, why would people be paying for the misdeeds of others when their intent might be, the penguin's intent is I'm never gonna break mom and dad's curfew rules, and I'm never gonna go out super late. Their intent is good, so why would they receive global punishment for their
That intent is so
Positive intent.
subjective too, though, because the seal that eats the penguin doesn't think he's doing anything wrong.
Yeah. So
we
is it
don't
wrong?
we don't well, some people do, but we don't. Like, I had a cheeseburger 4 days ago, and I didn't think I was a bad person for
That's
eating
why you're
a
gonna get robbed
cheeseburger.
tomorrow, dude.
That's
But I
real.
guess that's what I'm saying. Like, is it then specific to humans? Is karma a human centric concept?
I think it's human centric from the way that we, I guess, project it and understand it and receive it. But I think like the textbook definition does not relegate itself entirely to humans.
You know what I think? I think if it does extend to animals, I think because there has to be a set morality. Like there has to be a system of morality in order for karma to work. But that system or that set of morality could differ by species, So like a lion's allowed to eat his kids because he hates that kid.
Yeah.
Because that kid's a dick.
Yeah,
I mean,
he was the worst. He was a
He
garbage
told
boy.
Dorothy he's eating him tonight.
Yeah, exactly. But that's okay according to like the lion system of morality.
Yeah.
So which would make it even more individual.
Well, okay, here's now I have a question about this fucking question.
Yes, go.
So
He said garbage boy.
it's a garbage boy.
You shitty
It's a
little garbage
garbage
boy.
boy.
Listen here, you little shit.
What if our cultural and societal norms were that it was like okay to murder people and stuff?
I think and that's
and maybe it was a good, like it was justified. It was a good act to kill somebody, and that was totally
purge.
like that was part of our just
Karma would be societal then.
what really yeah
well.
yeah.
I think you bring up a good question with like if there has to be a set of morals that varies by culture, even
Yeah.
amongst human beings and circumstance. In some circumstances, we look at killing as okay, and in others, it's
Yeah,
totally
crimes of
unjustified.
passion
I mean,
stuff.
totally. That's a good
Yeah.
point.
in war, or
Yeah.
I mean,
Or in you could even
self-defense.
self-defense. You could boil it down to like religions. Like in some religions, doing X for the sake of Y is considered like a holy and religious deed. Whereas
Yeah,
in other
like-
cultures, if you don't believe in that religion, you're like, why? Why are you
why
stoning
would
that
you
person?
sacrifice
Or-
Steve? He seemed totally fine.
Yeah. Steve seemed like an okay enough guy.
I really do wonder how sacrifices were picked.
Yeah.
Maybe that was
Yeah.
a karma thing. or
Purity.
like
It was purity.
What?
In almost every system, it was purity.
Was it?
Yeah, it was. If it was like a human sacrifice, it would always be a virgin because they were sexually pure. And like the Jewish tradition, it was the purest, whitest sheep with like no sickness or disability. It's always been purity, like in almost every
best.
system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then if it's purity, does that mean purity is karmically sound? Is that like Has that been an understood thing?
That's an interesting idea that I mean, I guess sacrifice would be a very specific, not like we don't sacrifice humans anymore.
Yeah.
Well, at least that I'm aware of.
I don't know.
Sacrifice humans
I
anymore,
personally don't.
I don't.
I don't either.
I'm not aware of anybody that's like doing that on the regular. But it's an
Once in a while, it's
interesting.
fine.
But that's an interesting question that like you could say you are the purest of your species, but
Cleanest
you're the
goat
one who's
there
like,
ever
hey,
was.
thanks for being so kind and just and pure. Come on up this stairwell and let's take that heart out.
Right?
Like karmically, that doesn't seem like that would really jive,
No.
does it?
It's really...
Yeah, Brian worked long and hard just to have his little goat head chopped off on
Yeah.
the top of that altar.
He didn't jump on any of his friends' heads.
He wasn't a trash goat.
He ate no penguins in his
He
previous
was
life.
not a garbage boy.
He was not
No,
a
he's
shitty
not
little
a
garbage boy.
Vegetarian
For some reason, we
seal.
still carried
you
him
know
up the
what?
stairwell and took his head off.
Unless it was societally moral to kill the purest person, you know? I'm beginning to think karma's not real, guys.
I know. I think I'm losing my mind,
I
actually,
don't
a little.
think it makes any sense.
I think so. I think the thing for me that I always struggled with is like, you know, I think there are certain situations in which you're like, whoa, it's really crazy that person who did something like was it the Martin Shkreli guy, the pharma bro, whatever, like bought that company, like made a shitload of money, jacked the price up for whatever it was, some drug, made like a grip of money, and then like literally a year and a half
Wu-Tang
later,
album.
bought the Wu-Tang album.
Yep.
Tried to
kept it
buy
to himself.
the Nets.
And then like a year and a half later, he got like into a bunch of legal shit and like whatever.
Got herpes.
Did he?
Yeah,
Right on.
Wait, did he really?
probably.
He said probably.
From the Wu-Tang album, it was a trap.
No, but like there are plenty of examples of guys like that who you're like, oh wow, karma really kicked that dude in the nuts, right? He
Yeah.
did a really shitty thing to a bunch of people, and then like within a very short period of time, like within this dude's own lifespan, something very bad happened to him, and we all go like, karma, right? You were an ass, and something bad happened to you.
Yeah.
The problem that I have is I feel like there's just as many instances in the world of really, really terrible people who just dance their way into like everything being awesome and perfect. And like, granted, I know, like we talked about like reincarnation and generational things, but there are a lot of people that can be shitty their whole lives and never see penalty for it. And I don't know what my past lives were, so I don't feel like I'm being punished for anything I've done in the past. So it's like,
There's
I don't
also
know.
usually a pretty reasonable explanation for why bad things happen to people who have done a bunch of bad things to other people.
you're right, that's true.
Like that's not hard to imagine that
Yeah.
if you are an asshole for your entire life, that people are going to be an asshole back to you.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's just
real.
how we interact with each other.
Rightly
real.
so.
Yeah.
And if you're nice to people, people are going to be nice to you and want to help you out.
Do you feel like do you feel like there's a possibility that karma is like our like in the way that, you know, we try to understand the heavens and God and stars and shit through like very human
Faith.
devices. Thief. Do you think there's a possibility that like karma is like a version of that in some ways?
Version of what exactly?
Like our way of thinking through or understanding the fact that like if you treat people shittily, they're going to treat you shitty. And so like karma is a device that is under its construct is
It's like a reason
So, like,
to.
Just
Yeah.
a nice little way of
Different
teaching that.
names
It's a nice
for the
way-
same
teaching people not to be
thing,
dicks to each other.
yeah,
like
like
morality
things come
or-
back around.
I think that's the most reasonable explanation.
Yeah.
And I mean that's sort of the idea behind heaven and like what most religions generally try and teach is like don't be a dick.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not enough of a reason for most people, so you have to give them this incentive of like, oh, you're going to live eternally in this perfect place or like
and also like
oh,
question their
gonna
existence.
win the lottery because you didn't cut that guy off on the freeway
Or
like
be a platypus.
right.
right.
Pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep acting like a dick, Brian, and you're going to be a platypus.
Which
Because people are stupid and you have to explain things to them like children. I think that's a pretty good explanation, honestly.
Word.
Yeah.
word.
Honestly, I feel like that one is much less scary because like even though being a platypus would be like, oh man, I'm the bastard child of like the animal kingdom. Like even that would be
Inbreeding for
I'm
centuries.
like half a duck and a half of a kangaroo, but I live in the water.
I don't know what I'm doing.
I got a
I'm also
bill
a
and a
beaver.
pouch.
But
right.
like-
I make dams, but I'm not good at it.
Yeah.
Nobody likes
Well,
me.
aren't they still going extinct?
I hope so.
Only the good die young. Only the good die young.
Bod, you're two-decker.
But I feel like being a platypus is like that's not that bad in the terms of like other religions where it's like I'd way rather be a platypus than be damned to like eternal fire. You know,
Oh my God, I just read about this. There's a marsupial rodent that literally.
Lives in hell.
No, once
on
it
fire
finds
forever.
a mate, it's on fire forever. No, well, basically because it fucks itself to death.
Yikes.
It has sex until its body falls apart.
With itself?
No, once they find a partner, they.
Cattywampus, boys.
I'm not joking. It will have sex for more than 14 hours, and it will do it until it causes internal bleeding. Its shit's falling
I
off.
think I did watch that with you.
wow.
Can I propose something?
Sure.
Can we end this episode? we start out
We're
talking.
just getting
we got-
exciting.
We're an hour and a half in, and we're talking about the viability of Ryan being a marsupial that fucks himself to death. I feel like
I don't
maybe
think I
we've
was
gone-
included in that at all, for the record.
That was what I was envisioning. Maybe that was just
no.
me.
Well, come on,
You were
man.
talking about how it's not that bad to be a
Yeah,
platypus,
right.
and then I was like, what if you get turned into this guy who fucks himself till he disintegrates?
See?
I mean, fuck somebody. I don't know.
Yeah,
Fucks-
you keep saying fucks himself.
He's fucking somebody. I mean, shit. Oh,
Well,
God.
it's been real, guys. Till next time.
No, well, will there be? Can we actually? I know I was joking about bringing your character back for another episode, but will you come back and talk to us about another question?
Yeah, can I do it next time? The next question?
Yeah,
can I just
bring
come back
us a question.
literally
and
next week?
You guys should come up with one, and Ryan and I will just not be prepared and bullshit on it.
Yeah, and we'll just ask you guys
wonderful.
questions.
Yeah.
This is perfect.
Do you want to? Do you want to?
I would love to, yeah.
Okay,
Let's do that.
Josiah, thank
Let's
you.
do it.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Lydia, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you guys have anything you want to plug before we leave? Anywhere you want to send people? A website? Music?
I just wrote a book. It's called The Wonders of Bunt Cakes.
Type.
Wow.
Yeah, it should be available
Where can people go to get that?
at Amazon, Barnes & Noble.
Cool.
It's on audiobook. Go get it.
Awesome.
Yeah, and
Lydia?
I also wrote a book called The Many Ways to Display Chicken in Your Home.
Nice.
Good.
It's masterfully written.
Is it a coloring book?
No, it's different places you can place a fully dead chicken in your house.
With a foreword by J.K. Rowling.
All right.
That's magical.
I love both of you guys.
I love you.
guys.
So
Let's do this
much. You
again
guys.
as soon as possible.
This has been the What If Podcast. Love you. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the What If Podcast. For show notes, transcripts, and links from today's episodes, visit whatifpodcast.com.